All right, everyone, we are back. Banish those bye-week blues. It is Matchday -1 roaring back into your lives from St. David's Performance Centre. It's presented by our friends at PointsBet. And talking of friends, my best mate, Mr. Lahoud, back in the house. That was a long bye week to be without you, sir.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, and then the pesky rain reminded me.
Oh my God.
Back into it.
Yeah, you probably had one of the all-time worst drives up I-35, but delighted you could be here ahead of the big LAFC game as Austin get back to business. The Verde and Black in action against one of our favourite opponents this weekend for many different reasons. But let's kind of, with no game last week, let's kind of hit the refresh button and look at the big picture, Michael, and where we are. And the big picture, when you look at the pure numbers, says we're in 7th place with 7 points from just 5 games. We've now got a game in hand over many of those teams around us. How do you assess our position right now, the big picture, maybe even comparing to where we were at this stage last year?
I think given the fact that this is Major League Soccer and teams that are playing games in a bye week, there's no damage done to the campaign so far. It's still very early. I think we're in the middle of the pack, and I think that's justifiable based on the body of work so far. You don't win MLS Cups by being top of the table right now. It's what you do as you get better and start growing and identifying who you are throughout the season that matters most.
Yeah. And the bye week came at a good time, I think, didn't it, psychologically? Yeah. Just giving the players time to hit that refresh button.
Yeah, and this was a group that was logging a lot of minutes, a lot of players playing minutes. I think you started to see the effect of the CONCACAF Champions League campaign, a very new venture for the Verde and Black this season to do that. Big learning curve, and now a break comes, they'll come out of the gates, hopefully, with more energy.
Yeah. A lot has been made of the comparison between this year and last year, which I think is a valid one. I mean, last year after 5 games, we only had 8 points, say only, but we're only a point ahead of where we are now. However, if you're going to make that comparison, this is where it starts to change, isn't it? Because April last year was just terrific. For my money, Michael, April last year really made the entire season for this team. They won 4 in a row after drawing the first game of the month in San Jose.
And you look at the opponents. You look at the names on there, the home games. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
The home games, I think they're winnable games, and that's not to put pressure on the team. It's really out of how some of the opponents are playing this year. And I think we, as Austin FC, have a bit more quality and form than some of these opponents. I think the road games, though, the performances on the road, that can be some of the character-defining moments for the season that set the tone for this month.
Overall, if you're looking at the month of April, another 4 games to go, 2 trips to LA. We'll get into the first of those momentarily. 2 trips to LA, and then home games against Vancouver and San Jose. I think on our TV show last week, I said the team's got to be looking maybe to get 7 points from those 4 games, and if they get that, then it's everything right back on track. Would you concur?
Yeah, you read my mind in that when I asked you that question. When I look at what type of formula or philosophy you need to have success on the road, it's being difficult to play against.
Yeah.
And having a team come and break you down. When you're at home, the pressure is to go and entertain, and boy, can they entertain against some of these upcoming opponents.
Yes. They got those Vancouver and San Jose home games to look forward to this month. The 2 trips to LA. Let's start with the one that we now start circling on the calendar, don't we? In big Verde and Black crayon, LAFC this week. Been a lot of talk, I've noticed, about whether this is now a rivalry, and if it's a rivalry reignited. How do you assess, before we get into the nitty-gritty, how do you assess the big picture of this Austin LAFC in year 3 now?
It's one of my favorite matches in Major League Soccer, and not just because we work for the club, because this game, this matchup, has delivered, especially last year.
Yeah.
Some of the defining moments of the season came within this matchup, both in LA the first time out and at Q2 Stadium in that 4-1 drubbing against LAFC. Different year, though. Yeah. LAFC is a different makeup, and we'll get into them in more depth, but different makeup. They are the defending MLS Cup champions, and everything is going right for them, and they have some players who are playing lights out to start the season.
Coming off a bye week, with the start we've had, after last year's, is this the sort of game you want? I was thinking about this driving up. It's like maybe that chip on the shoulder, that underdog mentality that is tough to replicate from last year, maybe that can be a factor for Austin heading to Banc of California Stadium, where they will clearly be underdogs this weekend.
I think this is the type of game you want because they've just played a game as well.
Right.
And that's going to be a factor. Rest, juggling multiple games. We saw that with teams like Seattle last year going on to win the CONCACAF Champions League. It was what they did in the league. Slower start. LAFC not starting slow, but at some point, the tired minds, tired legs will give out.
LAFC look mighty impressive, don't they? There's no getting away from it. Anyone who watched their CONCACAF Champions League demolition of Vancouver will have seen LA at full flow. Going to be interested to see what impact that has on the personnel they put out, their performance on Saturday. It is a tough turnaround, isn't it? Having
Very
played
much.
on turf with a little bit of travel as well. Just wonder if there's something there that perhaps Austin can exploit.
I think that'll be in the forefront of their minds, how they start the game, how they react defensively. Transition is always a factor when you play against a team like LAFC, especially when you go to Banc of California Stadium. Managing the moments, managing the game throughout 90 minutes will be a must to get a result.
Yeah. But they are like UConn and the Kansas City Chiefs and the Boston Bruins all rolled into one. They're clearly the gold standard. We were talking about this. We heard a comment in commentary, which I think is that they may be the best team in all of CONCACAF, perhaps even in the entire hemisphere. I mean, how many teams in South America could beat LAFC at the moment?
They're surely playing like it.
Yeah.
And they have all the stars aligning. Their front three, Dennis Berwanga, this guy is the best player in Major League Soccer right now. Left foot, right foot, finishing, and just has that striker's confidence. You know what Carlos Vela can do. And Opoku.
Yeah.
He was a player coming off the bench. Chicho Arango, not missed very much, and he was a very good player. But when you have a player like Sebastian Driussi for Austin FC, you always have a chance no matter who you play against.
Yes. Cifuentes is not even getting a game at
saw
the
that.
LAFC, and he was one of the players that has really caught the eye in the last couple of years in games against us.
I saw that, and seasons change from one to another, and it's what have you done for me recently? Because last season, I thought that he was their most important player. As he got going in the second half of the season, their team started getting more momentum and really more belief.
Yeah. LAFC sitting in third place on 11 points. They are unbeaten, 3 wins, 2 draws, all 3 of their wins coming at home. But Austin did have the taste of victory there last year. Not in the playoffs when it mattered most, but in May in what was a really important road victory for Josh Wolf and a kind of marker on the season, wasn't it? Anything they can take from that performance, because they kind of changed their approach a little bit, didn't they, in that game, and played a little deeper, not as high press. Do you think that game, albeit one that's nearly a year ago, can provide any sort of blueprint for this weekend?
I think so. But there's also very different personnel on the field that wasn't available for that game that will be. I was going back and looking at the tape. I think they had Denny Musovski on the field. Now you've gotten more quality up front with them. Ilya Sanchez being in the midfield for LAFC. They are a complete team and playing very much like a complete team. But you can't give them 3 points if you don't go through the 90 minutes.
Right.
You can't crown them anything. You still have to play the game, frustrating them, absorbing pressure. Brad Stuver had an excellent game the first time around. Alex Ring also playing in midfield. I know Owen Wolf and Danny Pereira have been the 2 in midfield, but I wonder if we could see some wrinkles in how the team's set up for this match.
The coaching decision, the selection, the starting 11 will be fascinating for Josh Wolf on Saturday. Can they come out and make a fast start? The team that scored first in this series between the two teams has won all 6 games.
That's a must.
Yeah.
It sets the tone. And when you're on the road and you're going into the Lions Den, and for Austin FC, they will have to have that us against them, us against the entire city of Los Angeles sort of mentality, siege mentality to get things going. But when you shock a team getting the first goal, it just really changes momentum.
Yeah. So much to look forward to Saturday night. Back to the scene of, let's not forget, Austin's very first game. Almost exactly 2 years ago, you and I were sat in a radio studio calling it, weren't we?
Yeah. Oh, geez, I can't believe 2 years.
That's 2 years.
Nuts.
Yeah. So yes, rivalry reignited. I think this has the makings of a great interstate Western Conference rivalry. It'll be fascinating to see how the first installment in year 3 goes. So that's Saturday night. Before that, tonight, Friday night, Austin FC2 are back in action. They are now facing their third game of the new MLS Next Pro season, Michael. And they've made a great start on the field, haven't they? And off the field, for that matter.
I've been impressed about multiple things about MLS Next Pro and Austin FC2. The support, first and foremost. Playing here in the city of Austin, it shows just another reason why Austin truly is a soccer city. Now, on the field, some players have really impressed me. Valentin Noel.
Yes.
We've got to give him his dues. I would love to have Valentin here as a guest one day to really get to know him as a player.
We could do that.
And we surely will and should. But he has been just the standard above a lot of other players throughout this league. I covered him in college soccer, playing University of Pitt, Jackson Walty as well. But some Austin FC players who were part of the team last year. Charlie Asensio, you have Kip Keller getting some run at center back, and Damian Lass in goal.
A 2-1 win against Houston on opening night at home. They went up to Kansas City last week, got a 1-1 draw, lost the penalty shootout that happens after 90 minutes with a draw in MLS Next Pro. And now it's the Seattle Sounders, or the Tacoma Defiance, the MLS Next Pro team of Seattle in town. Should be another good crowd, good noisy crowd. Great to see the fan base coming out, wasn't it, to Palmer Field. It's in David's Performance Center. 7 o'clock kickoff tonight, Michael. They've moved it an hour earlier, so which means you finish an hour earlier as well. Get to somewhere else as well.
The pitch next to Palmer Field would be a great way to celebrate what will hopefully be a win tonight.
Yes, always good to see Austin FC2 in action. Hope you can get there on Friday night. So this brings us to the most important part of any Matchday -1 show, and that is getting the sense of what the Lahoud mood is coming off a bye week, facing perhaps the best team in the league on the road. Very interested to see what the mood is.
Well, Mr. Healy, I'm so glad you asked. As always, I think about this on the drive up. I think about this the night before. The Lahoud mood against LAFC is this. Not rolling up my sleeves. They're a bit tight. But it's industrious. And for Austin FC to have the industry to get a result at Banc of California Stadium, they'll have to do these two pre-mood things. The first, and you said it, fast start, early goal.
Yeah.
Last year, in that game, getting that early goal, Ruben Gabrielson getting the early goal, it shocked LAFC. They thought they were going to go in and make a statement. Early goal sets the tone to say, hey, we are going to be very competitive and hard to play against. It forces LAFC to change their game plan and be more aggressive getting numbers forward, which leads to the second thing, game management. Managing the game leads to creating opportunities. When you get your chances, which you will against an LAFC team that throws a lot of numbers forward in attack, you have to punish him. Be opportunistic, and you'll get a result.
Industriousness. I love it. Yeah. We're talking heavy industry here. We're talking in the furnace.
Start the fire.
So I love it. I hope that's what we see from the Verde and Black on Saturday night. We will finish with a moment of gratitude, Michael, because we talked about different levels of the club being involved. First team, next pro team. How about the Generation Adidas Cup that's been going on in Florida, and great showing for both the U15s and the U17s down there.
Well, they both represented very well. The 15s booking their places into the semifinals, I believe, getting a win against New York Red Bull, and the 17s with a statement win against Rivalry from Mexico.
Yes, that was a big win against Pumas. So that GA Cup was always a big event, isn't it, in youth soccer circles, and great to see the Verde and Black represented.
I got to call it last year. With David Goss, who does a great job with MLS Soccer. And I love youth soccer in this country. And I think a platform like the GA Cup and what MLS Next Pro is doing, having platforms like that for youth to thrive and also get international competition, that is complete. And that sets the tone and the standard for things to come.
Yeah. So congrats to all the young players performing with such distinction down there in Florida. Okay, that just leaves us to say, give you all the details. Let's not forget, let's give a plug to our other show that we do, which is Verde Lights. That's on every match day. And there are two showings. You can see Verde Lights at both 11:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. That's on the CW, part of the KXAN family network. I do believe the plan is to have Brett Utley, who's the MLS Next Pro head coach, join us this week in the studio. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can't wait to pick his brain, ask him questions, and obviously recap what's happened in the match tonight.
Yes, indeed. So Verde Lights, 2 showings that will get you all ready for the big LAFC encounter. Of course, MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, the place to watch it. I think it's a 6:30 p.m. local kickoff time, isn't it? With the organised kickoffs across the Saturday nights. I myself, Michael, will be in rather colder climes. I have to go to Salt Lake City this week for a little RSL Charlotte encounter, but back at home for Q2 next weekend against Vancouver.
Well, you're going to be earning every bit of Q2 being up in Salt Lake.
Yes.
Know that place. Playing at this time of year as a player, it is freezing. So good luck to you. Safe travels.
Thank you very much. And thanks to all of you for watching this Matchday -1. We'll be back next week to preview that home game against Vancouver.